Hello, we are back for our final week of Couples Spotlight, and this week we have William Seward Jr. and his wife Janet McNeil Watson Seward. And Seward is the final son to really outlive his parents and his siblings, and we are located today in the Victorian bedroom, which is symbolic to their relationship, and it has been kept intact to symbolize their relationship together and also the three grandchildren that they would have. So they would have the only three grandchildren, Cornelia, known as Nellie, Francis, known as Fan, and William III, known as Will. And so we have remnants of the nursery in here and just remnants of their relationship in general. The furniture is original to them. We have their portraits here on the wall. We have dolls for the children. We have Janet's nightgown. We have photographs. And so when you come for a tour, it's really nice to see that this room has been kept intact and these objects have been maintained for their relationship. And normally this room isn't open, so today you get really a deep dive into what is in here. But William Seward Jr. was unlike his brother Augustus or Fred in that he mostly stayed home. Only when he was serving his lieutenant colonel commission from 1862 to 1865, the end of the war, when he was called to serve with the 138th Volunteers, he mostly stayed here in Auburn, and he is like his mother in this way. Francis enjoyed Auburn, enjoyed the community and being home. And Will Jr. was the same. He wanted to invest and give back in this community that raised him. So he opens a bank here in 1860, and he was a private person focused on family and business and was not involved in politics like his brothers. However, Will Jr. struggled as a youth. He was always getting in trouble and did not have an inclination for a profession. It wasn't until his father paid him to watch the family finances that he found his calling and eventually opened the bank. Thankfully, by 21, he was also ready to marry. And through letters, we can see that him and Janet were really childhood sweethearts. They married in late June 27th, 1860, but they had known each other since they were teenagers. So he realizes he now wants to settle down and have a family. Martha Coffin Wright, a family friend, actually writes to Elizabeth Cady Stanton about the wedding. She says, quote, "The wedding was quite a grand affair, church crowded, a perfect jam in the house, boys and girls perched on every picket, and the street thronged near the house to hear the music and take a smell. The garden was lighted with lanterns and carpets spread." So it was really the wedding of the season. All of the community came out to support them together, and they both worked together to give back to the Auburn community. Janet enjoyed being a mother and raising a family and staying here and supporting her husband. So as I mentioned, they had the only three grandchildren. Baby Cornelia was born first. She was actually born a day before Seward was supposed to muster out to fight in the Civil War, but he was allowed to stay a few days later to help take care of his wife and newborn baby. Of course, when Will Jr. is away, Janet misses him, and Will misses her too. She held the locket quite near to her to remember him. And in December 1862, a few months after he leaves for war, he actually asks her to come down and join him for Christmas. So she takes baby Cornelia and a nurse and heads down to spend time with him. But she is, of course, reluctant to miss those South Street Christmases But we actually have a letter from Will Jr. to his wife from December of 1864. He writes, "Since my return this time, I have been much like a boy anticipating the coming of some holiday, constantly finding my mind reverting to the thoughts of time when I can return to my family, and in particular to my wife, who seems to be dearer to me every year. I sometimes feel as though I wish your time was not necessarily so much occupied with the children, and remember our pleasant experiences when I had you entirely to myself. But again, when I think of our dear little Nellie, I cannot regret the changes that have taken place in the 4.5 years we have lived with each other. I really can hardly realize all the changes that those 4 years have brought about. My little wife, the mother of my 2 children, and myself occupying a position which I should have as soon thought of filling as going to the moon. I think we can both afford to stop now for the present, at least. What do you say? Your will." So we can really see here that he is yearning for this time with his wife and his family. And he goes out to fulfill his duties of war, but he really wishes to be back here in Auburn. So he would come back after he's wounded in the Battle of Monocacy, but still serves a desk job to the end of the war. So he was away for over 3 years, and for him that was a long time. But when he returns back, he's busy with renovations throughout the home. He completely redoes everything his father had done in the 2 renovations and expansions here in the 40s and 60s. So he's busy with that, busy raising his family. He's involved with the bank, and he's also involved in the community, and he gives back to the community. So they live the rest of their lives here in this home. They inherit it. This room is theirs. It's special to them. And Janet passes away in 1913, and Will Jr. passes away in 1920. So just a year after his brother Fred. And so we do have some objects here from their relationship. There's quite a bit in our collection. So over here, this is a silver bouquet holder. So she would have held this with flowers when she walked down the aisle. And then we have some anniversary gifts. So up here we have a piece of a cake from their 50th anniversary celebration in 1910. And it says that right on the box with their initials. So that's really cool, never normally on display, but cakes back then were so large that pieces were cut off and sent to those who could not attend the celebration. And I thought that was pretty interesting. And then to conclude, down here we have these small silver ingots inscribed with their marriage date of June 27th, 1860, and their 25th anniversary date of 1885. So they gave these to each other for their silver wedding anniversary. And thank you so much for joining our couples highlight. We have enjoyed showing you these collection objects, and we will see you next month for more of our collection-based videos. Thank you.